We make round things into square things.
Welcome to Starfire Lumber Company in Cottage Grove, Oregon.
Tend to process larger logs, and we tend to make larger dimension solid sawn wood products. So the products that are kind of our flagship bread and butter are larger posts and beams, things you might see in open beam timber frame type construction. We make 2x4s and 2x6, commodity linear dimension lumber as well. But that's kind of comes out of what's left of the log. It's not what we're targeting.
By today's standards, Starfire is old school but state of the art.
You got to innovate to stay in the game. And we, in many ways, have actively chosen not to because as others got out of this, there was still market demand for the product that only cutting mills can produce.
It's a sawmill where humans still do much of the decision making and the hard work.
Trees are amazing. They're a natural machine that produces valuable, highly useful fiber, and all they ask for us is give them some sun and soil. I was on the lawyer path from high school onward. My dad was a lawyer. I did it for 5-ish years and didn't like it.
In the early 2000s, the housing market was booming.
And I had a friend who was a general contractor, and I was going to join up with him. Just completely, total 180-degree, drop what I'm doing and do something totally different.
He took his grandfather out for lunch to tell him he was going to try something new.
He said, well, why don't you come up and run the sawmill? I said, well, that's a brilliant idea, except I don't know a damn thing about sawmills. He says, well, I'll pay you to learn. And he offered me a figure that was more than I was making.
More than 2 decades later, Sean is still running the mill.
I've still got most of the management team that was here when I got here, and they've been a blessing.
81 people work at the mill his grandfather started.
He started this in 1983. He'd actually had a sawmill before, back in the 50s.
There was a fire at the old mill. His grandfather got back into logging and road building and ended up having to buy this mill and retool it.
So he bid on a large Forest Service sale and was the successful bidder, basically to buy himself a job. So many of his people he thought were his friends of long standing just walked away. And so he, at the age of almost 60, said, all right, screw you guys, I'm buying a mill, for real. That's what he did. And he bought this place. It was an old, dilapidated, rust bucket, former cedar mill. He bought it out of a bankruptcy. A lot of people don't have a dad. I had two. I had my actual dad and my maternal grandfather. I was blessed beyond measure in that way, in terms of people I could look up to and be taught things. And I'm a lot of things, but ungrateful isn't one of them. To this day, I kind of govern my decision making on what would Gramps do. I mean, it's I imagine him sitting across from me, and I'm facing the latest conundrum, and how would he react to this?
In the sawmill business, there are plenty of conundrums to keep an owner up at night.
When public policy makes the timber supply at best erratic, no one's going to invest on that. There's got to be some certainty of supply. And you see in areas where, over time the milling and the manufacturing infrastructure has just gone away. Then when they have a forest health crisis, or there's just certain projects, work they want done on the forest to make them healthier, more resilient or whatever, that doesn't work without a market for the raw material.
Sean, like many family-owned timber companies, is committed to what his grandfather started. If only the federal government would live up to its original intent.
The federal government said, come out here and build sawmills and we'll guarantee you a timber supply. That was the initial guarantee that invited all that investment. You'd have to be half crazy to build a sawmill today. There are days when I wake up and question whether I am crazy.
Sean and those who work in the industry are committed to the resource.
Nobody, especially like me, several generations deep into a timber community, we want the resource kept renewable. Reforest religiously. We plant 6 trees for every one we cut down.
As the owner, Sean's committed to the community.
I mean, it's important to me because we're firmly rooted in the community. We're not here today, gone tomorrow. I gotta see people that work for me at the grocery store, look people in the eye. My decisions affect people I get to see.
As the owner, he values his employees on and off the job.
I'm the human resources department. People got a problem, they walk right in that door and tell me about it. I don't care who they are, and I don't care if they're interrupting me.
Sean says he's blessed to have 2 men in his life who showed him fearless courage. Perhaps that fearless courage is still what fuels Starfire Lumber today.
For a fearless guy, I sure spend a lot of time being scared to death. Failure. I mean, I'm a steward of what he built. I don't want to let him down. I feel like I'm going to answer to him again someday, and I better provide a good accounting of myself. This place is everything to me. And frankly, the people. I mean, we got people here that were unmarried kids when they started here that, their kids are grown and gone. They fed their families and sent their kids through college on Starfire paychecks. That's a big deal to me. I want to get all those folks to retirement. Generally, I hope I'm not screwing this up. You left me with an enormous responsibility. And the newness of that has never worn off, even though I've been at this a while. I don't take anything for granted. I mean, my obligation and responsibility here is, I won't call it a burden. It's been a privilege, but it does weigh on me in the sense that I would lose almost all sense of self-worth if I let this thing go in the ditch. I can't even imagine myself recovering from something like that, so I just try not to think about it. It's off the table. And even selling out, even not having my family own this is abhorrent to me.